Donald Trump thought sending Congress away on an 8-week paid vacation would mean that his Epstein scandal would go away too, that we would stop asking questions, that no more emails would leak, no more documents would be revealed, no more photos would come out. But the opposite has happened because we haven't stopped talking about Epstein, and there is a good reason today why we shouldn't. With new leaked emails from Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein revealing Donald Trump's connection to underage victims and so much more. It is disgusting, and we are going to get into it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into these emails, I want to start with the context of what Marjorie Taylor Greene said the other day and why I don't think this is the end of more Epstein emails to come.
Is the need for more transparency around the Epstein files. You even told us last month that you're concerned about threats because you want to expose some of the people in power who were on Jeffrey Epstein, who was part of Jeffrey Epstein's ring. According to the survivors, there's a list of men they haven't released yet. You said you're willing to read that list on the House floor. What more can you tell us about that and the names?
Oh, I told the lovely women that I met that are victims of Jeffrey Epstein, they also say they are victims of another group of men, one that they're afraid to list publicly, and I told them that I'd be happy to read that name on the House floor for them. There hasn't been any movement forward on that. Of course, that's up to those women, and that's their decision. However, I remain steadfast in my belief is that all of this information should be released. No one should be protected. That's completely unfair. And I think it's a failure of administration that they never released it. No one has released this stuff. And so this is something that the American people are extremely angry about. I think it also played a part in Tuesday's election of why some people are just mad and they don't want to go vote. And it's not going away anytime soon.
Have you made your concerns about the Epstein files known to the president directly?
Yes, yes, I have. I don't share my personal conversations with the president, but I did express how important it is.
There is clearly more that members of Congress who have spoken to victims understand is going to come out, and we are going to see some of what has come out about Trump's relationship and involvement with those victims of Epstein and Maxwell's crimes. But it is clear that this continues to go so much deeper, and there will be more information released. What we are about to see was information from the House Oversight Committee. This is not the full Epstein file. These are emails they were able to obtain. There are still so many documents. I don't even know how many that will come out after an up or down vote on the House, which is going to be put in motion today at 4 p.m. when Adelita Grijalva is sworn in. So Donald Trump is in a state of panic mode, but when he was last asked about Epstein, when he was last asked about Prince Andrew's relationship, he gave this answer which colors everything you need to know about what we're going to see in these emails.
Prince Andrew in the UK has had his royal titles stripped away because of the Epstein scandal. I know you're close to the royal family there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel very badly. I mean, it's a terrible thing that's happened to the family. That's been a tragic situation. And it's too bad. I mean, I feel badly for the family.
Are you still planning to meet with Jensen Huang?
Donald Trump hasn't once said that he cares about the pain that these victims, that these survivors feel. He hasn't talked about it once because Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck. Donald Trump does not care, and he never has, and he never will. He calls it a hoax, and then it's revealed how deep into that hoax he was. Breaking, shocking new emails show Epstein telling Ghislaine Maxwell that Trump and an alleged victim spent hours at my house. A shocking, newly revealed email exchange between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell shows Epstein referring to Donald Trump as the dog that hasn't barked and talking about how an alleged victim spent hours at my house with him. The email was one of several released Wednesday morning by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. In a typo-laden message dated April 2nd, 2011, Epstein wrote the following. To Ghislaine Maxwell from Jeffrey Epstein, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Spent hours at my house with him, the victim, who's had their name redacted. He is never once mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75%. To Jeffrey Epstein from Ghislaine Maxwell, I've been thinking about that. There was also a 2015 exchange in which Wolf alerted Epstein that CNN was going to ask Trump about his relationship with the disgraced financier. Wolf went on to suggest that Epstein could potentially hang Trump or possibly gain political currency if Trump denied traveling on Epstein's plane or visiting his house. Here's how the exchange played out. From Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein in December of 2015, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that, when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. The more Donald Trump tries to cover up the Epstein files, the more we will uncover, Robert Garcia said this morning in a press release. The latest emails and correspondence raise glaring questions about what else the White House is hiding and the nature of the relationship between Epstein and the president. The Department of Justice must fully release the Epstein files to the public immediately. The Oversight Committee will continue pushing for answers and will not stop until we get justice for the victims. I just can't believe it at this point. I know we should. I know this shouldn't come as a surprise, but always reading this new information is so disgusting to me. What I found, maybe not most shocking, but to be the most blatant, is that correspondence with Wolf. That Donald Trump would be in debt to Jeffrey Epstein, or that Wolf, having known Epstein and known the nature of the relationship between him and Trump, suggested it may be possible that Trump just come out with no one telling him to, without instruction, and praise Jeffrey Epstein, because that is the relationship that they had. It was not inconceivable that Donald Trump would go to bat for his buddy, the pedophile, the criminal, the man running the cabal. That is, again, not shocking, but it is pretty blatant how best buds they were until the end. And the point about having a debt to Trump, Trump being in debt to him, that is what I expect to come out in the Epstein documents being held by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. The nature of that deal, correspondence about that deal. That's what Ghislaine Maxwell is certainly riding high off of right now. And I talked more with Jamie Raskin about the deal that she has and why it should disturb you more than just the reporting we've seen so far. I want to take a look right here. First, when we saw the story of the emails that were released of Ghislaine Maxwell saying that she was really enjoying her prison conditions, saying that it's something along the lines of like Alice in Wonderland, like looking through the looking glass or whatever it is. She was just kind of gloating about how much her conditions had improved. Of course, the letter that you sent outlines that Ghislaine Maxwell is now entitled to a puppy. She's doing yoga. I just really
she gets room service. She can go to the gym whenever she wants.
It is insane. And this all comes in the context, and it's kind of a broader question here, as I've seen Republican after Republican trying to demean working people who are unable to eat at the end of the day or feed their families, and say that those people are mooching off the government, that they don't want to see their tax dollars going to people on SNAP who are working, by the way. The only reason they can't afford their groceries is because Walmart won't pay them a living wage and so many other giant corporations. But those people, like, they haven't said a word about Ghislaine Maxwell, who is eating 4-course dinners on our dime. I know that's kind of a broader question, but what was your first thought when you learned about these conditions?
I mean, it's just what you're suggesting, Jack. I mean, it's like a sequel to the Hunger Games. I mean, they're down there in Mar-a-Lago having their Great Gatsby parties in their black tie while they're trying to throw 42 million people off of their nutrition benefits under the SNAP program. And then Ghislaine Maxwell gets transferred as a convicted sex offender and trafficker into a minimum prison camp that never accepts sex offenders or sex traffickers, and it takes months and months normally even to go through a process like that. You've got to demonstrate the compelling reason why you're switching, why you want to switch from one facility to another. And she never even had to go through months and months of bureaucratic proof about why she couldn't stay where she was. And then she gets in there and immediately she's treated like a guest at a five-star Trump hotel, although I'm sure they don't exist because they don't pay their workers anything. And I'm sure it's a mess over there. But in any event, she's acting like she's a guest at the Trump hotel with room service. She's got the warden there carrying messages back and forth to her lawyers. Who ever heard of such a thing, right? Because the mails were working too slowly for her. And she said, hey, this is really important stuff I'm doing. And they got the warden to take her edits on different legal documents, presumably including her commutation application, because she's seeking a pardon at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it would be difficult to offer any criticism that Democrats haven't spoken out enough about this Epstein issue. I don't think that you could do that. But I think still many people view the crimes that Maxwell committed, and this was a success of the Biden administration, of course, for anyone saying that, well, why didn't Biden release the Epstein files? We saw Ghislaine Maxwell held accountable under his administration.
That's why she's in jail. That's why Judge
she's in
Ali
jail.
Nathan sentenced her to 20 years in prison.
And I still think, though, that some people view her crimes as like financial crimes or white collar crimes. Do you think more attention needs to be paid specifically to this Maxwell issue as we highlight, I think, what needs to be done in the broad abuse, the broad physical and sexual abuse that was able to be carried out and guarded by so many people? And this wasn't just a singular Epstein alone ordeal, as Kash Patel wants to make it out to be, but there were so many people else involved, and like highlight the nature of Maxwell crimes, maybe?
According to the four of the leading banks in America, four of the largest banks in America, there were at least $1.5 billion, $1.5 billion of suspicious transactions that Jeffrey Epstein and his associates engaged in. And we're talking about a major global criminal enterprise of international child sex trafficking. That is for real. You got to read Judge Ali Nathan's opinion from the Southern District of New York when Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison. They were trafficking in girls. They were grooming girls. They were enticing them, alluring them. They were carrying them across state lines.
The Epstein files are not going away. We're not going to stop talking about this. We're not going to stop covering this. We're going to be on it every single day on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Do not let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.